David Zaritsky from the Bond Experience.
Joe Darlington from Being James Bond.
Joe, what the hell are we doing here? We were on a road trip down to Washington, D.C. to go to the Spy Museum to see George Lazenby. You remember that?
Very cool. Very great day.
It was amazing. And we actually started to get into a conversation. And by the way, Joe brought it up. He said, isn't it interesting? You think about the Bond films, and if you take each actor, arguably it's probably each actor's best film is their first one.
It is. Because they tend to use that as, let's get back to basics and show people what Bond is all about. So they pull out all the Bond stops and they kind of forget all the stuff that they were getting carried away with. So I kind of feel like it just sort of coincidentally, or not, that their first movies tend to be their best ones.
Yeah, and we said to ourselves, it might be interesting to share this with the Bond community, with both our Bond communities, and start to take a look at each movie and discuss it.
Yeah.
I mean, what are those different aspects that we think, does it make it true or not? Is it questionable? So guess what we're starting with? I don't think it's any question right here. We're going to start at the very beginning, and we're going to talk about each one of these 6 films and the 6 actors to date. We're going to start with Dr. No.
Got to start with Dr. No first.
By the way, just to make it real for you, it's a rainy day. We just finished watching
for this.
Dr. No. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect day for this. So I'll start off right off the bat. I mean, first of all, I love this movie because to me, and we'll talk about, Sean Connery's first foray out, it's a mission.
Yes.
Remember we were talking about that?
Yes.
M sends him on a mission, and he goes on a mission. This isn't any kind of angsty family stuff going on, or Marvel type of MCU type things.
Yeah.
It's a mission.
It's a straight up mission, and it's amazing how, and not to fast forward to today all of a sudden, but the reaction, more and more, the years kind of following Spectre, and people have a lot of time to think about it. And everybody sort of says, well, what do you want from Bond 25? Well, I want a mission. Less angsty, less this, less that, less personal, less family trauma. How about just a mission? And here you go. I mean, this is the archetype of the Bond mission. The whole. What's fascinating to me about Dr. No, among a lot of things that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
This really did set the groundwork. That sort of Bond formula starts right at the beginning. Yeah. You would think it would take them a while to get their footing. And there are a couple things that'll sort of pop up later in the series, obviously, that'll sort of become staples. But right out of the gate, you meet Bond, you see the mission, the M's office, the Moneypenny flirting.
Yeah.
These are things that will stay with the series for decades. So, there's so much about this film that they got right.
Yes.
Just right out of the gate.
And by the way, to me, it doesn't seem overly used, even though we've seen it a million times. It seems comfortable, but once the mission starts, the thing that we kept, obviously you couldn't get us to shut up, we kept talking during this movie, and the one thing we kept saying was, look how capable Bond is.
Yes.
He's not doing anything with extravagant gadgets or these corny one-liners so much as he's really focusing on good spy work.
Yes.
He's putting hairs on doors and he's talcum powdering suitcases and things like that. It's a spy movie, and it feels like a spy movie mission.
Yeah, it's one of the classic scenes is Bond walking into a hotel room, looking around the area, looking for bugs, something we actually haven't seen in a long time, which is kind of surprising. But the classic Bond spy elements are all here.
They're all there, and he's drinking. I mean, he's a fallible guy. That's the one thing. Even though he's one of the most capable individuals, which is why I think we love to live the Bond lifestyle, we love to be capable ourselves, he's a drinker. He's fallible. He has issues like you and I do. He's a lover boy. He's trying to seduce the women. Now, the one part when he sits on Moneypenny's lap practically, and they do, I don't think you could do that nowadays.
It's amazing, right?
There's some interesting PC elements, but you have to love a sign of the times with that.
Sure. Yeah. This definitely falls into the category of couldn't get away with that today.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No. In fact, something like this, I think this film, for many reasons, would be picketed. I mean, literally, you'd have people probably outside marching around, but there's so many elements that get back to the basics of, again, Bond is not supposed to be this puritanical individual that, 10-year-olds are supposed to look up to. It's not Luke Skywalker. It is a fallible, misogynistic assassin.
Yeah.
And we can't lose sight of that. By the way, let's talk about Sean Connery's portrayal. What'd you think of it?
Wow, yeah, it's funny when you watch this again. It right out of the gate, this Connery is all business. This James Bond, he's a policeman, like they say. He's a cop.
Yeah.
And he's almost kind of Dirty Harry-esque, is not quite fair.
Dragnet almost. Like,
Right. Boom, down in the business. Yeah, give me the facts. He's all business in this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly that'll soften up as the series progresses.
Yes.
But right here, oh no, he's all business.
You see hints of things to come. Like when he's talking to Moneypenny and he grabs her hand, he starts dancing with her and says, da da da,
yes.
da da da. There's that playful, Darby O'Gillis type, Sean Connery moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he is doing an investigation, suddenly it's like, goom. He is so deadpan. And we were remarking even during the movie, it's like almost like he goes in a very neutral tone. And it's very hard hitting. And I think it's why even some of the other characters like Felix Leiter, I mean, we were both saying, we agreed on this, best Felix Leiter.
Easily.
Because
Jack Lord, come on.
Jack Lord, and he's like a CIA guy. He comes across as a CIA guy.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that Jack Lord sort of comes in here. He's kind of smooth the way Bond will be. I kind of feel like it's almost like almost like people watch this and they said, he seems cool and calm and kind of fun to be around.
Yes.
When Bond's like, let's get this mission done. And who's this and who's that? So I kind of wonder if they sort of took that and kind of played on that and said, we need to let's play with him a little bit more, let him have a little more fun in this role, which obviously translates to fun for the audience.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. This is not the Goldfinger James Bond.
Right.
Even though it is the same actor, obviously.
Yes.
This is a little bit more raw, hard-hitting, by the book, like you said, policeman type thing. So he doesn't have all that, like, I'm cooler than school and nothing's going to kill me type attitude. His hair goes flying everywhere. He's beaded in sweat.
Yeah.
There's one point where they're out by the dock, and I said to Joe, check it out. He's sweating through his suit.
Yeah.
Fucking Jamaica. So, I mean, yes, he's going to do that, but it's interesting how they evolved them over time.
Oh, totally. I mean, even just 2 films later, Goldfinger. He's driving around and the beautiful girl passes him in the car. He starts to speed up and he goes, discipline 007. Like his natural instinct is play. Here it's just all business.
Yeah.
When he's talking to people in the room and he's interviewing or whatever, I mean, like I said, just down and dirty all business.
Yeah.
So you can tell that this was something that, started one way, but very quickly eases up and changes, it evolves.
And we got to talk about look. And I don't mean just the look of the film. The look of the film, to me, I kept saying to Joe, the color is beautiful. You think about the sepia urine filter that they put like on Spectre that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
And then you see the gorgeous colors of this film. It's amazing, but Connery looks the part.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot of lore. We're not going to be repetitive on this particular show about, how they made him sleep in his own suit and everything like that. But he looks comfortable and he looks great as Bond.
Totally agree. It's amazing from a style standpoint. I mean, honestly, I feel like I could get that suit and put it on right now and be completely comfortable in it. I feel like that classic style has not changed.
Yes.
I mean, when you stick to what's classic, I mean, again, later on, Connery's going to get kind of wild in his clothing, stuff that you would be caught dead in today. But right here, that Dr. No suit, he's fine. Maybe not the pants, but the rest of the suit is...
Pants were up to his nipples. It was like a Clint Eastwood moment. It's like, get off my lawn. Pants were up here.
Yeah.
Lots of pleats.
Lots of pleats,
Matt Spazer would have been cheering. Pleats as far as the eye can see.
There you go.
But they did. I mean, he, as some people say, he looked the mustard. I mean, he really did look the part, which I think is difficult. And not to fly ahead to another one of our vlogs we'll be doing, but if you look at Daniel Craig in Casino Royale right off the bat, I thought he looked a little uncomfortable in suits. I think he looked a little tight and over muscular for the suits in some cases.
Yeah.
Sean Connery has got this cat-like swagger where he wears the suit doesn't wear him.
Exactly. He's kind of like Brosnan, where he's just sort of born to wear a suit.
Yeah.
Casino is interesting, and again, like you said, we'll get to it when we get to it, but he's so casual up until the time when you finally see him in a suit that it does seem a little stiff. Like he doesn't know how to sit in it. But you're right. Connery he walks in with that suit, and it's just boom, he's made to wear it.
So we got to talk about something, and Joe pointed this out. So the first time the Bond theme, past the titles, is played, Joe goes, it's not the Bond theme. Wasn't the Bond theme, that was the soundtrack.
Right.
He's right. They played the Bond theme as the soundtrack throughout the whole thing. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, it's great how often they play it, and it's great how I love how they save it for just even just for him walking into the hotel lobby.
That was great.
All of a sudden the Bond theme kicks in.
Yes.
It's like not like, I mean, nowadays we save it for like the big action beats.
Yeah,
But
once or
then
twice.
it was just the coolness, just the coolness of Connery just walking through a hotel lobby. Boom, there's the Bond theme.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, seriously, if you think about it, we think in terms now of, well, they're going to use the theme here, they're going to use the theme there. Back then, this is the first one, so this was just the soundtrack.
Exactly.
They just said, we need a musical score.
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with, so they played it at integral moments.
Yeah.
And boy, does it work.
And the rest of the soundtrack were like very simple notes, dun 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 dun, or dun 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 dun, or Three Blind Mice. I mean, that's it. That's the whole soundtrack. I have the LP record. I was playing it the other day upstairs. It's got two sides, and it's mostly like, jump up, like 5 different ways, plus the James Bond theme. Which there's something a little pure about that. And we also remarked there's huge expanses of silence.
Yeah.
I think films nowadays in general, never mind just Bond films, they feel like they need to fill every moment of the screen with music.
Yeah, certain composers definitely, when you buy or when you get the soundtrack, and it's usually the expanded soundtrack or whatever, it's sometimes like a good hour and a half of music.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's the whole movie. Like didn't they talk? Yes, it's different here, and it is funny when you look at some of those old LPs of like the Dr. No soundtrack. To us, it's a Bond movie, but back then it was just a movie.
Yeah.
So you just plucked out the songs that were in the movie and you plopped it on a record, and people bought it.
Right.
And again, they're thinking like, oh, they're gonna love this Three Blind Mice and Underneath the Mango Tree. No, we want the Bond music.
Want the Bond music? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it's 1962. We kept reminding ourselves this is a 1962 movie. It even predates us, old man.
Yeah.
So we started to take a look at a couple things, like what's PC, what's not, is there anything that's racist? So pointed out a couple things I want to get your reaction on. First of all, obviously Loverboy Bond, we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
He's wooing and he's doing all those things that in 1962 would absolutely be probably permissive, or at least kind of a wink and a nod. Second of all, obviously, there's 2 characters that they were making partially Chinese. So obviously, you have the woman, and why do I keep forgetting her name?
Miss Taro.
Thank you. Well, all right, good partnership. And Dr. No, and even for Dr. No, the gentleman that played him, they put like fake skin to make him look a little bit more Asian.
Yeah.
And then of course you have Quarrel, who black gentleman. But let's start with that. So. For some reason, I went into this film thinking like, oh my gosh, there's really profound racist moments. I don't know about that. I think it was evenly tempered for 1962 in that regard.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, again, see, it's interesting, the relationship between Bond and Quarrel.
Right.
I suppose some might look at it and say, well, he's kind of talking down to him a little bit in certain moments, but it's really more. It's not so much about skin color as much it's about. I mean, he's an islander who's painting a boat.
Right.
I mean, Bond is a very sophisticated person from England. And there are some moments when you like the moment on the beach.
Fetch my shoes.
Like that'll kind of make you go like, yeah, all right. Well,
yeah.
They weren't all great. Yeah. But again, it's pretty tame in the big scheme of things.
Yeah, especially when you come, and we will get to some of the later movies. There are some kind of more wincing moments than that. But let's talk about, obviously, nowadays, if you used American or even British actors that weren't Asian to play partial Asian or Asian characters, would not be met with the greatest of embraces.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's funny. When I was younger, I never gave it a thought. Obviously,
right.
Miss Taro. We look at her now, and suddenly now the lens that we see it is much different.
Yes.
And now suddenly it's like, well, this is a white person playing an Asian, and I never even gave it a thought when I was younger because I just thought, well, I'm looking at an actress. I mean, she's not. I never there was nothing that was beating me over the head that said she is Chinese.
Right.
I mean, there's a line, I'll make a Chinese dinner or such and such.
Right.
So I assume that this is a person who Anglo origins with some Asian influences. So I never really gave it a thought. I never really thought they were posing her as something per se. But I guess other people feel differently. And the same with Dr. No. Even in the book, he was like half Chinese, half German. I think he was a mixture of different races. So again, the final product was not necessarily going to be a pure Asian person. So you wouldn't need a pure Asian actor.
And by the way, it's better than him being played by a monkey, because you heard that, right? Did you hear originally they were going to have a monkey be Dr. No?
I feel like I might have heard a little urban legend or something like that.
Is that an urban legend?
Well, I don't know.
I thought that was like Harry Saltzman or somebody wanted Dr. No to be a monkey or something. I don't know. For all the yous out there, put in the comments if you know about this, if it's an urban legend or not.
Like the Batman bad guy, the talking gorilla?
Yeah, exactly. Grog. Yeah. I am Grog. And then obviously we've got what's considered non-PC nowadays of Bond just totally, having women bodies like left all over the place, or the Moneypenny moment.
Yeah, well, the Moneypenny moment specifically, because it's interesting because, it's funny, in one respect, that one, they know each other.
Yeah.
So, who cares? But then suddenly you go, but that's the workplace, and boy, is that a taboo today.
Right.
So, yeah, now you look back and you're like, well, now it's a big, but then again, in 10 years, what's the new bugaboo going to be? So who knows? Who knows what in 10 years we'll be doing this again, saying, oh my God, I can't believe he smoked a cigarette, or, whatever, which we're kind of already doing.
But that's the one that actually came to my mind much more than anything that he did out in the field, because quite frankly, even if it's today, he is a spy. Mm-hmm. He has certain seduction skills that he has to implement to get to the bottom, to buy time. Now, could he have been doing other things with her, playing Parcheesi, to let the time go by? Yeah. Possibly, but those seduction skills are still being used today by real spies.
What's interesting, too? You know what I just saw recently was Red Sparrow. Did you catch that one?
Loved it, but didn't see, careful, I didn't see the last 30%. I was on a plane, and we landed. And I'm like, this is such a better film than I expected.
Same here. I really thought it was a lot better than I was expecting, too. I really thought it was, I thought it was going to be dreadful because that's what I heard. But it really did capture a lot of very interesting aspects of that sexpionage world.
Yes.
That one gets, to the point where that one gets a lot uglier.
Yes.
Than what we're going to get in a James Bond film. In James Bond, we're going to get
like how to learn those skills and awfulness of it.
It gets right. There's awful and graphic parts in that. Here again, you're talking about something that's much more light and downright playful. By comparison. So it's actually, in the big scheme of things, it's actually very tame. Although I did find, as we were watching it today, there are moments when Connery does seem very aggressive with her. It's very subtle. Right. But if you watch, there's even when he first gets there, he's sort of grabbing her, kind of. It's like his grip is very tight. There's a scene where, when she's on the phone, he's still holding the towel. He wraps the towel around both hands.
Oh yeah, just almost like choker.
Almost as almost as if she doesn't know. Am I going to get strangled or whatever?
That's a Connery thing too, because in Diamonds Are Forever, the bikini top.
Sure. Yeah.
He uses that as a garrote.
This is right. This where Connery was the rough one. For sure. And then even later, when they're in bed together and she's on the phone and she kind of goes, "Oh, that explains," and he of course he does the moment explains what, but he literally grabs her by the collar and pulls her close. That's a good point. And that fist is pretty clenched.
Yeah.
So so there are I could actually see in that moment that being a little more wow, that's a little
Yes, but if you watch 50 Shades of Grey, and I hope you haven't, I hope you all haven't, those 3 movies, even in those particular ones, the exploration of sensuality as it is consensual, I should say, for both the man and the woman, really teeters on the point of masochism. Of a certain amount of control and power. And so it's interesting. I think back then we kind of shudder and look at that oh my God, look how aggressive he is. And then suddenly 50 Shades of Grey comes out and there's an entire movie and a whole genre of individuals that are reading those books, like lapping it up and going, putting it down, going, oh, it's horrible. I can't wait till the next movie comes out.
This podcast is going deep.
It's going deep. All right, let's lighten the mood a little bit. We've got to talk about something that is all important, because one of the things, the whole premise of this conversation was, hey, isn't it interesting how these Bond actors, their first movie is arguably the best one. Ready for this? Dr. No, Joe Darlington, Dr. No. Is it Sean Connery's best James Bond film?
No, I would not say that.
I agree, but why?
Well, and this is sort of a cheat, because I sort of feel like the first four together are Connery's best film. That was sort of the golden age of James Bond.
Yeah.
And even what started in Dr. No, again, gets better in like Goldfinger and Thunderball. So yeah, I can't really call this one his best, but I do sort of say, like, in retrospect, I mean, seriously, we talk about the Bonds that get back down to basics. Well, you're not going to get down to basics more than this, because this, again, this is the first one. This is the foundation. So again, every misstep or everything that you try that doesn't work perfectly is going to happen in this film. But again, all those things get sort of ironed out as the series goes forward. So is it the best Connery? No. But I will say that this is one of the best. I frankly find this is probably in my top, maybe not quite my top 5. Top 8, yeah, I'd say my top 8, 7-ish. I kind of feel like it's sort of just out of the, top-ish.
Yeah.
Because again, I love the fact that this is just a basic James Bond thriller. And again, they looked at this not as a James Bond film, but just as a good film.
Yes.
So a good spy thriller. And that's exactly what you get. You get a very brass tacks James Bond film. And by the way, something we should talk about, it's very faithful to the novel.
Yes.
I mean, this was again, we're not in the mindset of making James Bond films.
Right.
We just took a good book and wanted to make it into a film.
And that's what they did. I mean, that's the formula for success. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I also do not think this is Connery's best Bond film. Because what I did was, in analyzing this, I said, what are all the characteristics I loved of this film? So all the ones we just mentioned, I won't go over them again. And then I said to myself, or asked myself, have they done it better in any other Connery films? And the answer is yes.
Sure.
I mean, from Russia with Love, certain parts of Thunderball, Goldfinger, I feel like those are better. I mean, if I took the first 4 Connery films, for example, and I just judged them, I would put Dr. No number 4. I would put number 1 at a different pace. So the reason I do that is I think stories are better in some of the other ones.
Sure.
I think the bad guys, too. So this bad guy you don't see until an hour and a half into the film.
Yes.
And he's one note. I mean, he's very maniacal.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that they were very faithful to the novel with him.
Yeah.
But, is he the most interesting? Meh. Arguably.
Yeah.
Do you flesh him out? No. So I think that's what I weighted against.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Villain-wise, I'll give you the pros and cons of Dr. No as a villain. Yes, he's very stoic. He's very cold by nature. So he's not somebody you're really going to sort of, get into and have fun with.
Right.
On the other hand, he is the prototype, I think, for the Bond villain going forward.
That's a great point.
I mean, the Nehru jackets right out of the gate, which literally has stayed with us up until Spectre.
Yep. Telling about the plan, hosting Bond and the Bond girl in a luxurious environment before he tries to kill them.
Exactly. So right, something that's literally stayed with us until today.
Yeah.
So again, you do, like I said, one of the trademarks of Dr. No as a film is you see the spark of the Bond formula, of Bond tradition that will go forward and improve over time. But the spark definitely started here.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the novels. I mean, it's something that shouldn't be, taken lightly, is they really, although it's not word for word, like Joe knows the novels much better than I do, but like he was saying in the ending, Bond had many more kind of an obstacle course to go through, many more different things that they flirted with and possibly even filmed. But in this particular story, they really had so many elements of the book, which is, I think, one of the reasons of success of the story.
Yeah. I mean, you are talking, again, this is back in the time when, I mean, today, if you put a novel to film, you are probably going to stay as faithful to the novel as possible. Today, Bond is much different. Even when you do, like in the 70s, early 80s, when you were doing films that were loosely based on the books, it was loosely at best. And some were just not even close, obviously. But this was still the time when we like this book, we're going to put it to film.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the best adaptation we can. And they really do. It really sticks. Very, I mean, if you read the book, it's pretty much a play-by-play. Some aspects obviously are different because it's hard to film a lot of it. Like you said, when he escapes the jail cell, he just kind of weaves through, Die Hard style through the ducts, and there's hot water, and there's, I guess it's hot is what we're supposed to get out of that. Right, in the novel, there's a lot more obstacle courses. When he rescues Honey Rider at the end, she's being attacked. I believe it's by crabs.
Would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah, and I think they tried it, and if I remember correctly,
crabs wouldn't do what they wanted.
Yeah, basically they had it just looked like a room full of dead crabs that were not moving because they had they were not moving anywhere. Or whatever.
How exciting!
Okay, go on. She's drowning. We're gonna drown her. That's all. So of course it's not exactly like the book, but yeah, it is pretty faithful to the novel. And again, I think that's why that Ian Fleming spark starts here and carries out. I mean, seriously, when you talk about Bond's drinking in this film, because Ian Fleming was a big drinker.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a cocktails by 3 o'clock kind of guy.
That's right.
So that stays with this character. I mean, they did put an effort to make the character faithful to its source material, so that Flemingness shines right through. And there's so many things in this film where you say thank God, because we wouldn't have the Bond we have today if they did not manage to successfully get it in the beginning.
Yeah, by the way, one of my favorite drinking scenes, and there's a lot to appreciate, is when he smells the vodka when he goes back in the room and everything's been tampered with. Or he's like, oh, maybe this has been tampered. Yeah. He literally puts it down and goes in his drawer and gets out a second bottle of fresh vodka and opens it up. That's how Joe and I live.
How many bottles do I need for this mission?
Exactly. Yeah. Clearly, it's a two-bottle mission. So final question, and Joe didn't know I was going to ask this, but I'm going to put him on the spot. If Dr. No is not the best Connery film, which one in your opinion is?
My favorite Connery has sort of always been Thunderball. Ooh. I like Thunderball a lot. I love it for its location. I love it for it again, that kind of casual Bond. You get a lot more of that in Thunderball, where he's enjoying his location, he's enjoying his drinks, and again, the villain scene where make yourself at home, all that good stuff. And I know a lot of people are kind of turned off by this very slowness of the underwater battles.
Pacing,
yeah, it does slow down. I kind of don't mind it at all, because again, I do get a thrill out of watching them sort of just be underwater all this time, and
I agree.
All the scuba diving stuff, and again, great location. So yeah, that one has probably sort of always been my favorite.
I agree. Mine is Thunderball, and most people will either go to obviously Goldfinger, or they're going to be going to From Russia with Love. But to me, Thunderball is one of these ones that I can just watch over and over and over.
I totally agree.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for joining us. This is the first of obviously 6 that we're going to be doing.
Yes, sir.
So I think they're going to get interesting. By the way, you notice that we're talking about a lot of avant-garde things, a lot of questionable things, PC, racism, things like that. Obviously, the opinions of Joe and I do not necessarily represent the Bond experience in being James Bond, legally patent pending. Did I read everything the attorney said?
Yes, sir. Got it.
No, we're going to get like this because we're kooky. Anyway, this has been David Zaritsky.
Joe Darlington.
And we're going to see you very soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.